Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of First Maccabees, the 14th chapter. Now in the 112th year, King Demetrius gathered his forces together and went into Media to get him help to fight against Tryphon. So remember, there's that civil war going on amongst the Seleucids now. So Demetrius is trying to get help to come and take out Tryphon out of power. But when Arsaces, the king of Persia and Media, heard that Demetrius was entered within his borders, he sent one of his princes to take him alive, who went and, which I believe that's Arsaces. When you look at us, Mithridates the first, but you can look him up and the secular history will say the same thing this just said. Who went and smote the host of Demetrius and took him and brought him to Arsaces, by whom he was put in ward, meaning he was basically made a prisoner. As for the land of Judea, that was quiet all the days of Simon, for he sought the good of his nation in such wise as that evermore his authority and honor pleased them well. So he governed it so well, everybody was happy with him. And as he was honorable in all his acts, so in this, that he took Joppa for an haven, and made an entrance to the Isles of the Sea. So to make it flourish even more, he opened Joppa up as a port, and enlarged the bounds of his nation, and recovered the country, and gathered together a great number of captives, and had the dominion of Gazara and Bethsura, and the tower out of the which he took all uncleanness, neither was there any that resisted him. Then did they till the ground in peace, and the earth gave her increase, and the trees of the field their fruit. The ancient men sat all in the streets, communing together of good things, and the young men put on glorious and warlike apparel. So there was peace. People were actually able to live peacefully for this period of time. He provided victuals for the cities, and set in them all manner of munition, so that his honorable name was renowned unto the end of the world. He made peace in the land, and Israel rejoiced with great joy. For every man sat under his vine and his fig tree, and there was none to fray them, meaning none to make them afraid. So you could, they could plant their crops, they could harvest, they could not have to worry about war. Neither was there any left in the land to fight against them. Yea, the kings themselves were overthrown in those days. Moreover, he strengthened all those of his people that were brought low. The law he searched out, and every contemner of the law and wicked person he took away. Those that were worthy to be put to death were put to death, and the rest were kicked out, basically, driven out of there. He beautified the sanctuary, which is the temple, and multiplied vessels of the temple. Now when it was heard at Rome, and as far as Sparta, that Jonathan was dead, they were very sorry. But as soon as they heard that his brother Simon was made high priest in his stead, and ruled the country and the cities therein, they wrote unto him in tables of brass, to renew the friendship and league which they had made with Judas and Jonathan his brethren, which writings were read before the congregation at Jerusalem. And this is the copy of the letter that the Lacedaemonians sent, the rulers of the Lacedaemonians, with the city, unto Simon the high priest, and the elders and the priests, and residue of the people of the Jews, our brethren, send greeting. The ambassadors that were sent unto our people certified us of your glory and honor, wherefore we were glad of their coming, and did register the things that they spake in the council of the people in this manner. So the ambassadors you sent, they got to us, and we happily received them. Numenius, son of Antiochus, and Antipater, son of Jason, the Jews' ambassadors, came unto us to renew the friendship they had with us. And it pleased the people to entertain the men honorably, and to put the copy of their embassage in public records, to the end the people of the Lacedaemonians might have a memorial thereof. Furthermore, we have written a copy thereof unto Simon the high priest. After this, Simon sent Numenius to Rome with a great shield of gold of 1,000-pound weight, to confirm the league with them, right, to reaffirm their alliance. Whereof, when the people heard, they said, What thanks shall we give to Simon and his sons? This is Israel, that is. For he and his brethren and the house of his father have established Israel, and chased away in fight their enemies from them, and confirmed their liberty. They got them their freedom, they fought off their enemies, they revolted against the enemies. So then they wrote in tables of brass, which they set upon pillars in Mount Zion. So they wrote these acts in tables of brass, and they placed it in Mount Zion, right, Jerusalem. And this is the copy of the writing. The 18th day of the month Elul, in the 100 year, being the 3rd year of Simon the high priest, at Saramel in the great congregation of the priests and people and rulers of the nation and elders of the country, were these things notified unto us. For as much as oftentimes there have been wars in the country, wherein for the maintenance of their sanctuary and the law, Simon, the son of Mattathias, of the posterity of Jarib, together with his brethren, put themselves in jeopardy, and resisting the enemies of their nation, did their nation great honor. For after that Jonathan, having gathered his nation together, and been their high priest, was added to his people, their enemies prepared to invade their country, that they might destroy it and lay hands on the sanctuary. At which time Simon rose up and fought for his nation, and spent much of his own substance, and armed the valiant men of his nation, and gave them wages, and fortified the cities of Judea, together with Bethsura, that lieth upon the borders of Judea, where the armor of the enemies had been before, but he set a garrison of Jews there. So basically, he stood up in this stead, took over where Jonathan left off, raised up the armies, made sure they were paid. He took the garrisons, right? Moreover, he fortified Joppa, which lieth upon the sea, and Gazara, that bordereth upon Azotus, where the enemies had dwelt before. But he placed Jews there, and furnished them with all things convenient for the reparation thereof. The people therefore sang the acts of Simon, and unto what glory he thought to bring his nation, made him their governor and chief priest, because he had done all these things for the justice and faith which he kept to his nation, and for that he sought by all means to exalt his people. So they basically officially made him that governor and chief priest for all the things he did for them. For in his time things prospered in his hands, so that the heathen were taken out of their country, basically kicked out of Israel, and they also that were in the city of David in Jerusalem, who had made themselves a tower, out of which they issued and polluted all about the sanctuary, and did much hurt in the holy place. So that fortress that Antiochus built there, Simon was able to drive out those that were in there that were causing trouble for Israel. But he placed Jews therein and fortified it for the safety of the country and the city, and raised up the walls of Jerusalem. King Demetrius also confirmed him in the high priesthood according to those things, and made him one of his friends, and honored him with great honor. For he had heard say that the Romans had called the Jews their friends, and confederates and brethren, and that they had entertained the ambassadors of Simon honorably. Also that the Jews and the priests were well pleased that Simon should be their governor and high priest forever, until there should arise a faithful prophet. So they said, look, the people like this guy. The Romans made a league with him. They're pretty much all good. Moreover, that he should be their captain, and should take charge of the sanctuary, to set them over their works, and over the country, and over the armor, and over the fortresses. That, I say, he should take charge of the sanctuary. Beside this, that he should be obeyed of every man, and that all the writings in the country should be made in his name. So he was basically like a king, like in terms of authority here. And that he should be clothed in purple and wear gold. Also that it should be lawful for none of the people or priests to break any of these things, or gainsay his words, or to gather an assembly in the country without him, or to be clothed in purple, or wear a buckle of gold. So everything had to go through him. He was the authority. And whosoever should do otherwise, or break any of these things, should be punished. Thus it liked all the people to deal with Simon, and to do as hath been said. So they were all on board. They said, yes, we'll go with this. Then Simon accepted hereof, and was well pleased to be high priest, and captain, and governor of the Jews and priests, and to defend them all. So they commanded that his writings should be put in tables of brass, and that they should be set up within the compass of the sanctuary in a conspicuous place, which is set up within the region of the temple, not in the temple, but in the area around, in an important place. Also, that the copies thereof should be laid in the treasury, to the end that Simon and his sons might have them. And that brings us to the end of the book of First Maccabees, the 14th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Recha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.